guys, Happy New Year. It is now officially 2023. I know that I'm forever going to constantly make the mistake of saying 2022. I already know that in, I think, a previous video I said that I flipped them. I was like, this was my favorite book in 2023, but 2023 has not happened yet. So I'm very excited about trying to figure that out because that's my biggest struggle every beginning of the year. But today we are going to talk about my most anticipated books of 2023. I talked about my favorite books of 2022, and now it's time to move on. I have a little list here. Gotta pull it up. And I'm actually proud of myself for organizing this so well, because typically I would just throw them all on a little sheet, but I made this so organized. It's sorted by new releases, if it's a series. So I'm pretty impressed with myself. And my brain is overflowing with the amount of synopsises that are floating around in my head, because I wanted to read them all before this to make sure I knew what every book was actually about. And so I have a lot going on up there. So I'm hoping that I don't get any of them confused. But let's just go ahead and get into it. For 2023, I thought that I would do 23 books that I want to read this 2023, and I'm really bad with lists, so I'm going to be really proud of myself if I actually do complete this and read all of these books. I know that I'm going to read more than 23 books in the year, but the trick is, am I going to actually read these, or I'm going to be oh, I just bought this new book, I'm going to read this instead, or oh, I don't feel like reading this, and then I just never read them. So that's my goal for 2023, is to actually read them. And now that I've blabbed for a good 2.5 minutes, we can get into the list like I've already said. So my first book that I am excited, my cat is doing something funky over there. The first book that I am super excited to read this year is, so I'm starting with new releases. So these are books that will be released this year. And the first book on my yearly TBR is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'm not really sure. So this is essentially about a professor who, I think she is trying to, I'm already getting them confused in my head. I've already read too many. So she is traveling and she's studying fairies and the fairy folk, and she goes somewhere to work on her studies. And her arch nemesis is there, and he is also kind of the same thing. He's studying the same thing. She is not really a people person, so she shows up to this town and she's not really getting with the people, but her arch nemesis opposite, he's a big people person. So I'm assuming this is going to be some enemies to lovers type action. I could be wrong. I don't even know if there's a romance in this book, but that's kind of what I'm getting from it. It was the Fairy Loot adult book, but this book does not come out until the 10th of January, so it will be out soon. I so badly wish I would have gotten the adult book version because it's so pretty, and people are selling it for $100 on Mercari and stuff, and I will not pay $100 for it. I'm sorry. I just can't get myself to do that. So the next book on the list is the Invocation. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong, by Crystal Sutherland, and she is the author of House of Hollow. I've talked about House of Hollow multiple times. I'm pretty sure it was one of my top 2022 books, and so the Invocation is a dark fairy tale, which is similar to House of Hollow, which is the same thing, a dark fairy tale. And it is about two girls who have their own individual struggles, something they're going through, and they meet a third girl who is the daughter of a witch, I'm pretty sure. So they're going to use witchcraft to solve their problems, but this girl who is the witch is okay, everyone that I've helped, someone's coming and killing them, so you better figure that out before you guys die too. So it's kind of it sounds like a murder mystery, also dark fairy tale, fun stuff. So I'm excited. House of Hollow, amazing book. Her storytelling and the way she writes is so good. So I'm really excited to see what her next book is. Next on the list we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I've said this multiple times too. I am so pumped about anything Emily Henry writes. I love them. So Happy Place is about this couple who broke up, and their group of friends every year travels to this house, and they stay, I think it's a cottage or something like that, and they stay there for a week on like vacation. But this is the last year that the cottage is going to be there because it's being sold, and the couple broke up. But they don't want to ruin the vacation for everyone, so they're like, okay, we can fake this out so that we can still enjoy our vacation and come back into it, and then we don't have to like break our friends' hearts or anything like that, that we're depressed and heartbroken on vacation. So it's like fake dating, but fake dating someone that you were dating, so I'm excited to see how that is. I'm like really talking with my hand right now. I'm excited to see how that goes. I really love her books. I mean, her characters are always so like witty and fresh, so I'm excited to read that as well. And that comes out, I didn't even say when the Invocation comes out. The Invocation is June 27th, and Happy Place is April 25th. It took me like a hot second to figure out what my months were. So the next on the list, I think this is on a lot of people's lists, and I know a lot of these have probably been talked about so much because, you know, these are just popular books that are coming out in 2023 that people are excited about. The next on the list is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. So one of the Cruel Prince stories was on my top 22, and I'm very excited to see where the story goes. So it's a continuation of the, I never remember what the thing is called. It's the Cruel Prince series, the Heir of Folk of Air series, maybe. Whatever the series is called, it's a continuation of the Cruel Prince, but it is different characters, and it's based 8 years in the future. So it makes me a little sad that Cardan and Jude have grown up. I don't know if that's those are two characters that are in the Cruel Prince, and everyone knows them, so it's not spoiling. It makes me a little sad that they're growing up, and I have heard that they're not, like, in this, they're mentioned a little bit, but they're not in this, and I think they're supposed to be in the next one, because it is a duology, but that came out yesterday. Oh my gosh. So that came out on the 3rd. Super hyped about that. I'm gonna have to go get that now, which is also exciting, because I do love going to Barnes & Noble, but, okay, so it's already out. Go get it. I'm excited to read it, and I hope that it's as good as The Cruel Prince, but as good as the, like, last book. The first book I liked, but wasn't a huge fan. Like, as the books went on, I enjoyed them a little bit more, so I hope it's like those. Next, I have A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, and this comes out February 28th, and I just finished Priory of the Orange Tree. I really liked it, but also had my gripes with it, so I'm intrigued to see what this one is like, because I know she came out with this book and she was like, it's a standalone, it's huge, and, you know, it's not going to be a series or anything, so that's why I like justifying how big it is. And not that there's anything wrong with large books, I think it's just personal preference. I don't like holding something that big, it's just a little uncomfortable. Besides the point. This is a prequel to A Priory of the Orange Tree, and I thought that it was going to be about, like, the coming of the Dark One, the Nameless One, which is the main, like, villain in the book, but it's not, I don't think. So I'm not really sure, but I will read it, and I'm excited. And I know it's going to be a little confusing, because some of the characters have the same names, because they, like, repeat the names, because it's just like a kingdom thing, like, whatever, the heirs, they only can be named certain things, so I know that's going to confuse me a little bit, but I'm excited. I really loved this story, even though I wasn't super happy with the, like, very ending of the book, but I think a lot of people are very excited. I know I've seen so many people have the arcs, and they're so pretty, so I'm like, really just want them next to each other on my bookshelf, and I will be satisfied. Next I have Godkiller by Hannah Kaner, and this, I'm sorry if I pronounce anyone's last name wrong, this comes out the 19th of this month, so January 19th, and it is pretty simple gist of the book. It is I think a girl, and she is a god killer until she finds a god that she's not able to kill, and then the story takes off from there. The synopsis of this book was super simple, so I don't know if it's going to be like one of those things where they just don't want you to know a bunch of information going in. But it sounds really cool, and the cover is so pretty, and that's what always gets me, like, pretty cover, I'm on it, like, I want the book. Next I have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed, and this doesn't have an actual date, so it just says fall 2023. I'm going to keep this one simple too. It is a dark academia, and it is about a girl who is, I think she's like living in this estate for school or something like that, and she is trying to like discover the secrets of this book. And she's kind of like, so it's like magic and non-magic, so it's like, I guess, what is that, a fantasy? I don't know, it's dark academia. I love anything dark academia. I'm pumped, and I've heard a lot of good things about people's anticipation for it, which makes me anticipate it. So I'm a follower, and I will follow all the way through. So the next I have Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. This one I was a little iffy about putting on the list because I loved The Love Hypothesis, but the synopsis for this book is so similar that I'm like, is this just going to be The Love Hypothesis again? Which I'm totally cool with because, you know, The Love Hypothesis was great, but at the same time, it would be a little refreshing to do something different. But it is fake dating, so it's also school-based, like they're professors, and this girl fake dates this guy. So, at least I'm pretty sure it's fake dating. Oh my gosh, I could be wrong. I'm almost positive it is fake dating. But the synopsis, and I know a lot of people have complained a little bit that it does seem kind of like a mix of The Love Hypothesis and she had another book, I can't remember, Love on the Brain. People are saying that it kind of just sounds like both of those mixed together, which might be good, you know, combining both of them, and if they're both good books, so who knows. Next I have Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang, and she actually has 2 books on this list for me, and this book sounds so good, and it seems so different from, but also so similar to what she's been writing in like a good way. So this is about a girl who, she goes to, I think she's in Yale or something like that, and she is an aspiring author, and she has someone who she's like going through it with, and they're both supposed to be like top of the class, like they're gonna be famous, amazing authors, and when the time comes, she kind of flops, and the other girl does well, and then the other girl dies, and she's like, I'm gonna steal her manuscript, I'm going to sell it off as my own, and it is a Caucasian woman who steals the book, and the woman's book she steals is, I think, Asian American, and she's kind of like changing her persona, she's pretending to be a different culture, and she's writing off this book as her own, so it's kind of like, it's about cultural appropriation and everything that goes along with what a lot of the common themes that are happening nowadays in literature, and I think that it's going to be really refreshing because it is not fantasy or anything like that, and I just think the story sounds so interesting. I'm very intrigued to read it, and I think it's very, how many times am I going to say and? I think that it is very with the times, so I'm excited to see. Now that is all, oh I'm sorry, and that comes out May 25th, and I think that I totally, Love Theoretically comes out June 13th. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm very excited about all of the new releases in 2023. Everything sounds so good, and a lot of reoccurring authors coming out with new books that I'm very excited about. So next I have series. So these, I'm just putting the first book on here because I'm not going to promise that I'm going to read anything past the first book, but I think that as long as I'm kind of getting into series, I'm happy. Like, most of the time when I start a series, I'm just going to read the whole thing, which is fine, but I don't want to like say like, oh, this book, and then count the second book as another book too, because that seems like a cop-out to me, because I want to be able to like have the option, you know? So, first on the list of series, and these are already existing series, is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I just recently purchased this book. I'm very excited about reading it, and it is about a group of people who come together to essentially do a heist. And I have not read Shadow and Bone. I don't think you really need to read Shadow and Bone to understand Six of Crows. I'm sorry. What did I just call it? Yeah, Six of Crows. I was like, What? I'm losing my mind. What is it called again? Six of Crows. The second book is Crooked Kingdom. So I have seen the TV show though, so I don't know if that spoils anything for me. I know that they're kind of conjoined in the TV show. I don't really think that that ruins anything. I've heard lots of good things about the book, especially the second one, so I'm excited to read it. Next on the list is one that I've actually already started, and this is Zodiac Academy number 8, Sorrow and Starlight, by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. These books are insane. And, like, they're, like, so hard to explain if you haven't read them. So I can't even give, like, a synopsis of the 8th one without ruining, like, every book before that. But it's about, like, a college of... So these two girls, they're twins. They live in the human world, and someone comes and takes them and is like, hey, you belong in the Fae world because you're a Fae, surprise. And they have to, like, go to this Fae college where they learn their powers and everything. But another surprise, they're queens. So I don't think that ruins anything. That's, like, pretty, like, soon in the series you learn that out. So that might be a spoiler. I don't think so. I thoroughly apologize if it is, but it's pretty obvious where the story goes. It's heavily written like a Wattpad. The first, like, 4 books are really hard to get through, and then once you get through them, you get really committed to the characters and you just can't stop. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I picked up the 8th one, and I was like, I don't even remember what's going on, because so much stuff happens in every book, and these authors are just like, they do not coddle their readers. They're like, we're gonna rip your heart and soul out and do every horrible thing possible that you would never want to happen to the characters that we've made you love so much. And there is this one character named Geraldine, and she is the funniest. I think that she's like the saving grace for the book, because she is so funny and weird, and just, like, I love her so much. I can't stop reading it. But the next book I have on the series is a little bit more serious. Not that I'm just being silly. Not that Zodiac Academy isn't a seriously written novel, but next on the list is Mistborn, The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I have not read a single Brandon Sanderson story. They kind of intimidate me, just like Priory of the Orange Tree did. I'm kind of intimidated by, like, high fantasy or books that are just so big like that. Like, I prefer them split up into little books, even if it's like a 12-book long series. But I've heard nothing but great things about Brandon Sanderson, and the Mistborn series, from my knowledge of reading the synopsis, is essentially about there is just a cruel ruler and everyone is enslaved until someone tries to usurp him. So this person starts to start a revolution and take down the bad ruler. So that is just the general idea I got. I could be wrong. I typically don't read the synopsis of books that much. I go off, like, what other people say, like, if they've enjoyed it or their descriptions of it. So I think that's the gist. Either way, I think I'll enjoy it. I've never heard anything bad about Brandon Sanderson's writing, and I'm excited to get into it. I tend to read female authors, and I pretty much exclusively read female authors, so I'm trying to diversify in 2023 and add a little bit more into the authors I support. So next is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I have had this book for probably, oh gosh, almost a year now. Maybe. At least close to a year. And I have not read it yet. I don't know why. It's, like, pretty small. I could easily finish it, and I just haven't picked it up. But I do like V.E. Schwab's writing, and I've heard a lot of great things about A Darker Shade of Magic. But it is about a guy who, I almost called him a magician. He can travel through the parallel universes of London. So London has multiple parallel universes, red, white, gray, and black, I think. And he is an ambassador who travels between them, and under the table, he smuggles things for other people as well. And then he one day meets a lady and things take off from there. So I'm excited to read it. I think it's 3 books, so it might be a trilogy, and I think that'll be good. I think that's my only V.E. Schwab one that I have on here. But next I have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So this is my second Leigh Bardugo book, and this is another dark academia about a woman who had a pretty crappy life, and she never really had anything going for her, and she is the survivor of a mass homicide. She's the only one who survives, so these people show up and they're like, hey, we'll give you a full ride to Yale, and she goes to Yale, and she's like, why am I at Yale? Like, I don't deserve to be at Yale. I did not do anything to be at Yale. So she finds this, like, I think it's a secret society or something like that, and she's kind of like uncovering their occult practices. So this, I think people thought originally was a standalone, but it is a, what is it? I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or just a duology, but the second one is coming out this year, so I'm excited to read it so I can read the next one, which is Hellbent, and I don't have to wait a really long time to be able to read the second one because it's coming out now. Next I have, where was I? Oh, Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Moore. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I would love to give you a description of what this is. I think a lot of people know what Gideon the Ninth is. I myself have read the synopsis and still don't understand, but I did watch a video, I can't remember who it was, who said that it was one of their favorite books of 2022 because of the fact that the character is just really hilarious, and I like books like that where just it's more of like a serious plot, but the main character is like really comical and like that is your narrator, and I love the narrations like that. I think it sounds really interesting. I think the gist of it is it's about Gideon, who is a necromancer. I don't even know. It was so confusing. And she is going to be like the second for an empress so that she can get something accomplished. That is probably a horrible description. People who have read Gideon the Ninth, I apologize. You're probably shaking in your boots about the description I just gave. Yeah. I'm just gonna read it. I want to read it, and I want to know what it's about, and maybe I can give a better description at the end of the year. Next I have The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, and this is the second book in the Atlas 6 series. So I've had this one for, I think it's been out for a few months now, and I still haven't read it. It's another dark academia story about a group of kids who are, they're adults. A group of adults, like college students, who are in a secret society. This is just a continuation of that story into the second book. They left off, like the ending, I wanted to know so badly what happened next, so I don't know why I haven't read it yet, because I want to know what happens, because I think we were deceived at the end of the book. I could be wrong, I hope that we're wrong, and I just want to know what happens next. So that is that, and those are all my series that I want to start in 2023, and now we have standalones, the final category. Oh, my cat just sprinted across the room. Okay, back to it. Standalones. So first I have Moxie by Jennifer Mateo? I might be pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. I'm really bad with saying the names. I really should look them up before I get into this. But this is an older book, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how old, but it's about a girl in high school, and she is kind of unhappy with the way that things are. There's a sexist dress code. The football team is never held accountable. It's very like, I feel like coming of age almost. And she was like, I'm gonna stand my ground, you know, like this is wrong. And accidentally makes a girl rebellion. So she kind of bans all the girls together, like from all across, like whether they're popular, not popular, just all the people who are upset about the sexism and the mistreatment of girls in the high school, and they create a revolution. So I'm excited to read that. I really enjoy books with just like strong female leads who like want to make a difference, and that's what I tend to gravitate towards. And I tend to get that out of fantasy, but not so much out of the just general fiction that I read. So I'm excited to see how that goes. And next on the list is Babel by R.F. Kuang, the second R.F. Kuang book I have on here. And adding on to the theme, it is a dark academia. So it is about, I think it's a guy. I think it's a guy who's the lead. I don't know. But it's about a person who is working at Babel, which is like a building where they do translations, and it's essentially about colonization and his need to, like, I think he's Korean or Chinese maybe, I'm not sure. I wish I would have checked before I started this, and he's living in Britain, so he's kind of torn between, like, who he needs to fight for, you know, because of the colonization that's taking over, and it's kind of affecting, they're going into war with China, I believe. So I'm excited to read it. I know that it was a big topic in 2022, and I never got a chance to get to it, so I'm hoping that I can get to it in 2023, because I just really am excited to, like, I don't know, I just love it. A lot of people say it's less fantasy and more historical fiction, so I'm excited to read that. I liked the Poppy Wars with the same thing where it was fantasy, but it was also historical fiction, so I've been tending to enjoy those. So next I have, this one's a little different on the list, I have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and this is a classic story. I don't think it needs much explanation at all. Little Woman is about a group of girls who, all together, they are sisters, and they are all kind of going through different paths in life, and it's essentially about them growing up and the struggles they go through as, I think the story is written in Jo's perspective, which is one of the sisters. I could be wrong. I've seen the movie, and I absolutely adore the movie, and I love the concept and the story, and I love the girls, so I'm excited to read it. It's kind of about their struggles and them growing up in a time where women were kind of oppressed, and they had no other option but to marry and help their families that way. So I'm excited to read that. I want to get more into classics, so I think that'll be a good place to start. So let's see. The next story I have on here is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and I've been very excited to read this book. I picked it up during the Barnes & Noble hardback sale, and it is about a guy who's realizing that he is dead, and he's kind of being ferried away, and they're like, okay, you have 1 week, like, as the kind of in-between, I think, and he tries to live as much as he can in the 1 week to make up for, like, everything that he missed out in his life. So I've heard a lot of good things about this story. I'm excited to read it. I've heard it's very, like, cozy and heartwarming, and I hope that I'm right about that and that I'm not being deceived, because the concept of it does sound kind of sad, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited, and the next on my list, we're going through this quick now, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, and I just added this one because, again, I saw it on someone's favorite of 2022, and it is about two people who knew each other as children who reconnect as adults and create a video game together, but the concept of it is much more complex than that, and it's kind of about, like, their struggles through life. They meet as children because the boy is sick and in the hospital, or no, he was in a severe car accident and he was in the hospital, and I think someone in her family was sick with cancer, I believe, so they meet at the hospital together and then drift apart and find each other again in college accidentally. So I'm excited to read it. I heard that it's very, like, gut-wrenching, and I don't know, I just love a good sad book, so that's kind of what I'm hoping to get from this, and I think that I will accomplish that. Next I have Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashardoust, and this is another book that I picked up at the Barnes & Noble hardback sale, and this is another book that I read the synopsis and I don't really understand. Like, I don't, which is so funny because I pick these books up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read them, but I don't really know what it's about. but I like that. Like, I like figuring out what the book is about while I'm reading it. I think that's exciting when reading books, which can also be bad because then you're like, this is something that I'm not into at all and I don't like it. But I'm just gonna leave it at that for Girl, Serpent, Thorn, because honestly I can't even remember what the synopsis was if I thought about it. But next one, and the final one on the list, book 23 is Juniper and Thorne by Ava Reed. And I know that this was like a very controversial book. I hear a lot of people absolutely adore it, and a lot of people absolutely hate it. I think that it has a lot of trigger warnings, and for all of these books I've listed, make sure to check trigger warnings before reading them, because I'm not 100% positive on all of the different concepts in all the books, and it's better safe than sorry to read something that would be harmful to you. So, Juniper and Thorne is about, I think, a group of sisters, and they are witches, and their father is kind of like this terrorizer, like he's mean and treats them poorly, and they kind of have to sneak around and live their lives under his wrath and try to hide what they're doing. I honestly found it just because of the whole controversy and everyone talking about it. So I guess it's not even controversy, like that's a stark word to use. Just so much buzz about the differing opinions about it. So I'm really excited to read it and see. I love strong female leads and strong female stories. So I'm very excited. And that is every book on my 2023 to be read 23 books. 23 books to be read in 2023. So I'm excited and crossing my fingers. We will see if I can actually accomplish it and read all of my books on this list. I did do like the little bubble check marks, so I really hope that I can. I'd be very proud of myself. So New Year's resolution, read all the books on this list, and then more. My goal for this year is 70. I kind of low shot it a little because I'm hoping to exceed it, and we shall see. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know what books you guys are reading in 2023. I'm very excited to hear, and I would love to add my list. Thanks for watching. Bye!